Good morning, Cincinnati. My name is Gordon Kelly, and I will be your acting Toastmaster today. TV Toastmasters Club 9523 is hereby open. I'd like to welcome all of our TV viewers, our members here in the studio today, and our guest, Sushant. I have a grandson that's turning 6 on Sunday. And I happened to be in Denver last week, I believe it was, and he had a joke that he wanted to tell me. So he said, Grandpa, he says, do you know what really burns my butt? And I says, no, not really. He says, a fire about this high. As TV Toastmasters, my job is to MC and try to keep a smooth flow going between the speakers and the other tasks that have to be performed. Before I do that, though, I just want to mention that springtime is here. March Madness, I assume everybody's into March Madness. UK, of course, is going to win, so you really don't have to watch a whole lot of that. Mason County High from the Maysville area, the high school is playing down at Rupp Arena today. They won last night, I believe, in overtime. So that's a big deal. And of course, I was reading a thing on the internet about how many people are actually taking work time to follow March Madness. And they say there's not a lot, but I'll tell you what, everybody where I work, they're watching March Madness. And you can actually live stream that now on your computer if you want to do that. Well, to get the show going, we will at this point introduce the person that's going to be responsible for the word of the day, and that will be Carol Kormelink. Michelle Hennikus.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. Today I am the word master, so I'm going to be the grammarian, the all counter, and introduce the word of the day. The word of the day today is daffy. It is an adjective, and it means crazy, foolish. In modern context, it means it's more of a lighthearted meaning, silly. So to use it in a sentence, it's just plain daffy to spend all your money in one place. And also, Carol was acting quite daffy after she found out she won the lottery. So I'm going to be counting how it's used today, as well as any misuses. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Our Tabletopics master, I'll introduce her now, and as I said earlier, that will actually be Carol Kormelink.
We are having a District 40 conference coming up on May 1st, and if anyone does not have a registration form, I do have these today. And today the topics are all going to be about the spring conference. The theme of the conference is showing how initiative nurtures excellence. And one of the things that you can show excellence by attending club meetings regularly, and what else can you do to show commitment to Toastmasters? Don West, would you please answer that question? What else can we do to show commitment to Toast members? We attend meetings regularly, and that shows commitment. And what else can we do?
Okay. Thank you, Carol. To show commitment to Toastmasters, as mentioned, we can attend the meetings and we can attend the various conferences that go on. And especially we can enter some of the contests that are involved within our own club here, and the winner goes on and gives further speeches and gets further experiences in giving talks at various places and before different audiences. So that is a very good experience and can help a person to grow in their ability to talk before a group of people. And of course, that's the main objective of each of the clubs. So there are also opportunities to become executives, so to speak, within the club. If you'd like to be a president or a treasurer or a vice president, or get some experiences along those lines, and you can also avail yourself of those opportunities that are present here. So again, those are just a few of the opportunities, and I see that there are many more, and I invite you all to come down and avail yourselves of these many opportunities that are here. Learn more about it. So thank you.
Thank you, Don. Our next question is, what does the phrase, showing how initiative nurtures excellence, mean to you? And for a person who knows nothing about Toastmasters, Sushant, would you come up and say what that could possibly mean to you? Let's welcome Sushant, a visitor today. Showing how initiative nurtures excellence. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, sure, I'll answer that.
And there's a timer right there.
Yeah, hi. Well, if I have to say, like, how showing initiative nurtures excellence, I would say it's very important for a person to take initiative in a particular task or responsibility that he is assigned to. Only when you show the initiative and the urge to do something, you will be able to successfully complete whatever you want to do. Say, if you take my example, today I have come here for the Toastmasters basically to improve my communication skills. So this is probably an initiative that I have taken so as to communicate well with members in the American community, as I am from India, and I'm like our accent and our fluency is completely different from how Americans talk here. So I have hopes that this will bring about excellence in me, and I will be able to communicate much well. And this problem of communication, which is a significant problem for me, will not be there in future. So I think it's very important for a person to show the initiative and to finally excel in whatever he is doing.
Thank you very much. You covered all the bases. You may have that if you'd like. Very good. One way to show how initiative nurtures excellence is to prepare for all speeches and leadership projects to the best of one's ability. Describe the manner in which you prepare for meetings based on your role using the CC, the Competent Communicator and Competent Leadership Manual. Sheila Baker.
Good question. As the Vice President of Education, I do pay attention for each meeting to see what role each person takes for each meeting. But it's also my responsibility as a member to check to see what I have volunteered to do. If I have volunteered, for example, to be the general evaluator, I should be checking both the communication leadership manual, which will describe what I need to do as the or the various projects I can take and get credit for being the general evaluator, but also the communication book, because it gives a very nice description of general evaluator. When I give a speech, I need to make sure that my speech is tailored to meet the objectives of the assignment I have taken on. For example, if I have a speech that is specifically geared for working with words, I must design my speech to match the working with words objectives. So in order to be prepared, I have to read, I have to make sure that I know what it is I'm expected to do. Madam Tabletopics Master.
Thank you, Sheila. That's one of the things when I go back and read the objectives, I'm going, well, I didn't cover that objective, and I have to redo my speech, and then you time it, and oh, well, it's too long, you have to take this out and that out. Very good. On the back of the Toastmasters membership application, there is the Toastmasters Promise that has 10 items. Describe how the following part of the Toastmasters Promise relates to initiative. Sign up to fulfill meeting assignments. Paul Wessels.
You gotta say that again. I totally didn't get that.
See,
You what now?
you got to pay attention. Sign up to fulfill meeting assignments. How does that describe how that relates to initiative?
you got to sign up for things. You can't just sit there and not sign up for things. I tend to want to think about it. I don't want to sign up right away. I'll tend to want to lay back and read things and kind of look at my time a little bit. But eventually I'll do it. It may not be, I don't want to jump the gun and do something right away when I don't have to. So I tend to lay back, read through everything, try to calculate what's best for me, and then sign up. I think that's a good way to take initiative. It may not be spur of the moment initiative, which may be better off too. A lot of times if you think about it too much, you tend to put it off. So kind of a unique situation there, but for initiative, if you want to get something done, you basically have to sign up for it. Thank you.
Thank you. And speaking of initiative and signing up for an officer role, we're getting ready to have elections in another month, and we're talking about nominations, so be thinking about what officer role you might like. Our next role is one of the camera guys. Be ready to come up. Describe how the following part of the Toastmasters promise relates to initiative. Serve my club as an officer. Rick Barron, would you like to come up and answer that? He has to come off of the camera here, and let's give him a hand while he's coming up here. Did you hear the question?
So how does serve my club as an officer
Right.
demonstrate initiative?
Right.
Hi, serving my club as an officer, how does that demonstrate initiative? I'm the Vice President of Public Relations, and what I do is promote the club, try to bring members into the club. And I do that as a member also. I mean, that's part of my responsibility as a member is to promote the club. And one of the things that I did in my recent role was create business cards so that members could use that as a means of communicating how well the club works for them, when the club meets, and the best way that they could do that. So I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't in an officer role. So by being in an officer role, it gives me the opportunity to lead and to provide leadership within the club, to gain leadership within myself, and to take the initiative to go do new and different projects that help promote the club and Toastmasters overall. Ms. Tabletopics Master.
Thank you very much. And that reminds me to put the cards up here as a member if you did not receive one of the business cards that you can give out. Thank you for reminding me, Rick. Our next question is in my neighborhood. Describe how the following part of the Toastmasters promise relates to initiative. Bring guests to club meetings. And I brought a guest this morning to a club meeting. And Gordon Kelly, let's hear about you bringing guests to club meetings. How does that work for initiative?
Thank you. I think it takes a lot of initiative actually to have people come out to one of our meetings. There's a gentleman at work that I've worked on several times in general because he wants to be a part of something like this, but at the same time he has very little time. And I've worked on him. There's another younger lady, a college student, that I've tried to make contact between her and Shilamud Baker because she has a degree in acting, and I know Shilamud Baker does some performing, I believe. And I've tried to contact them. Right now, again, the girl graduated from college, so she's doing whatever she does. She's actually trying to save money and get out to California. But I felt she should try to come here and maybe participate and get to know Sheila Mudd Baker a little bit as a start. So I think there's a lot of initiative that you have to take to actually get people out. It's not something, you're lucky if you can take initiative and just invite someone and they show up. You're lucky. The way I started coming here actually was my sister was a Toastmasters in Chicago. And I just one day, I just got on the internet and looked at it. And the thing that really drove me was the fact that this was on Saturday morning. Because living in Maysville, it's kind of hard to drive through the week and get down to Cincinnati and join the club. So when I saw the Saturday morning thing, I called Carol and joined the club. But initiative, I think we're talking about self-initiative. You have to take that, you have to be self-motivated to join Toastmasters. But if you're not a member and you're not attending these clubs and at least checking them out, you're making a mistake. You need to get in and find out what we're doing. It's fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. And I might add that Gordon takes initiative because he drives an hour and a half here from Maysville, Kentucky every morning to get here. So thank you for that, Gordon. We nurture by helping the club maintain the positive, friendly environment necessary for members to learn and to grow. Describe how we nurture fellow members, get ready, Steve, by providing them with helpful, constructive evaluations. Steve happens to be representing our club in the evaluation contest, so he can give us a good answer. Steve Aaronholtz.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our honored guests looking in from home. I think it's really important to make anybody who comes to your club feel comfortable. And that applies to members, whether they're short or long-time members, as well as guests. My perspective on Toastmasters is that we don't have any problems or failures. We have learning experiences. And I also encourage people who are in my home club, which is NIOSH Toastmasters, as well as I have coached clubs. I encourage the members to get out to other Toastmaster events because you have an opportunity to broaden your perspective of what Toastmasters all involves. You have more people that you can learn from. And if you look at the Toastmaster mission, we also talk about how Toastmasters is a nurturing environment. This is a place that is a little lab. It's a safe place to try some things that you might not ordinarily want to do because you don't know exactly how it would come across. But in Toastmasters, we also provide an evaluation component, which means you do get feedback on how you did, whatever you were trying to achieve, the effect of it, and what you might want to modify in the future. That's what my perspective is on a supportive, welcoming club. Madam Tabletopics Master?
I forgot to ask you won the contest since you was over the evaluation. Did you do it for the area?
I won the evaluation
Oh,
contest.
wow. I just learned I was not at the area contest, and he's up at the next level, be competing at the third level. He won the evaluation contest at the area contest. So let's give Steve a hand. That completes my table topic session. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Tabletopics Master. Thank you, Carol. We've had a little fun, especially with the table topics. We always have fun with that. We're going to turn to a little bit more of a serious task, and that's going to be the speeches. Part of my job is to introduce the speakers. We will have 2 speakers today, and I'm sure they will be very entertaining. Our first speaker today will be Paul Wessels. He will be speaking from the Competent Communications Manual, Project 1, the entertaining speaker. I'd like to welcome again Paul Wessels, and he will give us the entertaining speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I actually live in the house that I grew up in. I bought my parents' house, and this is kind of a unique situation, so I'm going to tell you what it was like to buy my parents' house and what I learned when I bought my parents' house. The first thing I noticed when I bought my parents' house is I noticed this. This is finger wagging. And this was done by my brothers and sisters. I actually have 5 brothers and sisters, and they all came up to me and said, kind of in their own little way, they said something like this. They said, "Boy, did you get a deal on that house. I can't believe Mom and Dad sold you that house for that price. How can you live with yourself knowing what you bought that house for? Boy, we know who the favorite kid is in the house. Boy, did you get a deal on that house." Lesson number 1. No matter what you pay for that house, and my dad was very meticulous about making sure I paid market price for that house, and I did. No matter what you pay, your brothers and sisters are going to insist that you got the deal of a lifetime on that house. First, they're going to come up to you kind of privately. They're going to be wagging their fingers, and then they're going to come up to you all together, and they're going to do it publicly at family events. They're going to tell you how you got a deal on your house. Second, I really realized pretty quickly, and my parents lived in this house for 40 years, so they gathered a lot of valuable things over the years in the house. And when you buy your house from your parents, you really see all the valuable things that your parents gathered over the years, because all those valuable things are gone. All the junk is still there in the house. Now remember, they sold their house to me, their son. So there was no cleaning, there was no painting, there was no nothing. There was just, here are the keys, we're taking the good stuff, there's the junk. It's all yours, see ya. Now you gotta watch what you do with the junk too, because it's your mom and dad's stuff. And if you change anything around or get rid of junk, there's some definite ramifications for doing that. For example, we re-landscaped. And my dad comes up to me, we're outside, and he says something along these lines. He says, Paul, the bush, what happened to the bush? Dad, we re-landscaped, you know, we got rid of that bush. You know what I paid for that bush back in 1987? I paid top dollar for that bush. I babied that bush for years. I was on my knees covering that bush up during the winter months. If I knew you were going to take that bush out, I would have given that bush to your brother. At least he would have appreciated it. Lesson number 2, no matter what you change or what you throw out, your parents are going to let you know that you should have kept it the same way. First, they'll come up to you privately and they'll kind of tell you gently and privately. Then they team up as a couple and they'll do it publicly, and they'll do that at family events, for sure. Number 3, I realized really quickly my dad, he was just brilliant. He was fabulous at knowing when home appliances were going to break. Because when you buy your parents' house, I'm telling you, everything, it works. Everything's on the verge of breaking down, though. I mean, he was great at that. For example, we had this one garage door opener, and I call my dad, and I've got the garage door opener. I say, Dad, I checked the batteries. You know, this garage door opener does not work. He says, did you open up the back? No, I didn't open up the back, stick the 2 wires together, push those 2 buttons, flick it a little bit, stick it next to the thing, and the garage door will go up. Do it now while I'm on the phone. So we do it. Dad, it works. Garage, I told you, everything in that house works. When I walked out of that door and I gave you those keys, everything in that house worked. Lesson number 3, be prepared to replace every home appliance, particularly if it's expensive. Be prepared for your parents to insist that those home appliances are in perfect working order and that they have a long life left to them. For example, my dad, we were at a family event. It was my family event. All the grandkids and cousins and everybody around were all eating dinner. And my dad gets up and he says something along these lines. He says, Paul, I hear rumors that you've bought 2 new garage door openers. Is that true? Yes, Dad, we bought 2 new garage door openers. What the heck is wrong with the old one? Nothing. It's just the, you know, the 2 new ones are so much better. Nothing's wrong with the old garage door openers. Hey, I'll bet you with proper training, that old garage door opener will work just as good as those newfangled devices. Everybody, put your food down. We're going to retrain Paul on the proper use of that garage door opener. Move to the garage. I just want to set the record straight. I love the house that I grew up in. It's a great house. It's in a good neighborhood. We got a lot of room, good school district. You know, I have those memories when you grow up. I played ball in the yard and all that sort of thing. My family does like the fact that it's still around. And my kids, they have a sense of history and roots and all that sort of thing. This is just a little tale for those out there who may it's kind of unique, but get offered to buy your parents' house. Just remember, I mean, there's always, and I'm telling you, there's always 2 sides to the coin. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
Our second speech today will be by Rick Barron. Rick Barron's on the camera right now. His speech will be from the Competent Communications Manual, Get to the Point, and the title will be Snack Your Way to a Lean, Healthy Body. Snack Your Way to a Lean, Healthy Body, Rick Barron. Let's welcome Rick.
Now that's a real daffy promise, isn't it? that you can release all the weight that you want, attain your ideal weight by eating foods that you enjoy and snacking your way to a lean, healthy body. But it is possible. It definitely is possible. By the end of my speech, you will be running for the refrigerator or the pantry, looking for or planning your next snack. Has anybody ever been on a diet? Yeah. And how do we characterize diets? Diets really force us to do three things. Number one, give up the foods that we enjoy. Number two, start eating foods that we don't like. And number three, eat less. Continue to eat less. But what diets fail to do is realize some basic physiology about our bodies. And that is, our bodies are programmed for survival. Century after century after century, our bodies have been programmed to keep us alive. And to do that, they always operate in fat storing mode rather than fat burning mode. So, and what we do by not snacking during the day is we perpetuate that by allowing our bodies to essentially starve for 4, 5, or 6 hours between meals. So we eat and our body says, I better pack this away because I don't know when I'm going to eat again. I wait 6 hours, I eat again. And my body says, see, I told you, it's going to be a long time before you eat. So I better pack it all away. And we do the same thing again when we eat dinner. The body says, hey, wait a minute, food is scarce. I better pack this away for another time. So how can we reprogram our body to understand that food is plentiful? And all you have to do is look around to see that pretty much most people in the United States, food is plentiful. There's really not a lot of people that are starving themselves to death. And what ends up happening, though, is the body, as we said, is pre-programmed for storage. And how do I break that? I break that by reconditioning my body to tell it that food is plentiful. And I do that by eating every 2 to 3 hours. That's right. You should be eating something, a meal or a snack, every 2 to 3 hours. And you should start within 30 minutes of getting up. Start those fires burning as soon as you get up by having breakfast or some form of snack. And continuing to eat every 2 to 3 hours to reprogram your body so that it says, fuel is plentiful, I can burn what I'm getting. And initially, you're going to have to eat even when you don't want to, which is completely contrary to what we've been taught. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Initially, you're going to have to, because you're going to have to recondition your body to know that food is plentiful. So continue to eat even when you don't feel like eating. Okay? So that's the first thing. How do I reprogram that physiology? And I do that by snacking. Obviously, there are some conditions on that. Ladies, your snacks should probably be in the 100 to 200 calorie range. While gentlemen, you get a little bit more leeway and yours are in the 200 to 300 calorie range. In addition, you now have to become what I call a label detective. You have to start reading the labels on the products that you buy. If your snack is an apple, not much to read, right? But if your snack comes out of a bag, a box, or a can, it is required by federal law to have a label that indicates the ingredients that are in the product. And they're required to be listed in the order or the proportion in which they're present. And so you need to look at that label and identify where you have what I call the demons of fat loss. And that is pre-processed ingredients that immediately go directly to fat storage. We call them very fast carbs. And those are things like sugar, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, and enriched or white flour. If those ingredients show up in the first 4 of any product you're eating, essentially what's happening is the body has to convert that immediately into sugar and look for a place to store it. And it finds one of 3 places. It goes to the liver. If the liver's full, it goes to your muscles. If the muscles are full, it goes to your fat cells, and your fat cells are never full. They will always expand to take what's given. Always expand to take what's given. Third thing that you can do is do a little resistance training. How can I build the fire bigger? And I can do that by building additional lean muscle tissue. And ladies, we're not talking about going to the gym and having muscles of steel. What we're talking about is a little resistance training that will build muscle for you, that will allow you to burn and store those sugars when your blood sugar spikes. It's like building a bigger campfire. That's exactly what it's like. So you can snack your way to a lean, healthy body. But before doing so, make sure you check with your physician before any change like this. And ultimately, you can find more on the internet by going to www.myfoodlovers.com. www.myfoodlovers.com. Ready, set, go to the fridge. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer, and he says, hey, hello, sorry. But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Farmer says, doctor says, chicken says...
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken...
As I said, we knew we would have some very interesting speakers. That was a very interesting speech, Rick. We all, of course, know a lot about food, I think, in one way or the other. I believe Rick's speech is probably focusing on Americans or North Americans, because the reason I'm saying that is I did a study a while back about ethanol. And one of the things that they predict in the future is that the next huge war will be for the reason that worldwide we cannot grow enough food to meet the population. Just a tidbit. At this time, I'd like to introduce our general evaluator. And this person will evaluate the meeting overall, and she will have evaluators of the speeches that she'll introduce. And her name is Sheila Mudd-Baker. Let's welcome Sheila Mudd-Baker.
Well, we're in the unusual situation of not having evaluators for our speakers. So we're going to give people an opportunity to get up and do an off-the-cuff evaluation. Well, Paul is making all sorts of gestures, which don't mean anything to me. Paul, why don't we have Paul and Rick evaluate each other? You've heard each other's speeches. And that would be a lot of fun for all of us. But before we do that, let me say that so far the meeting has gone very well. And one of the points of having a general evaluator is to go through the various components of the meeting and make sure that all the roles are filled. And sometimes they aren't always filled because of emergencies, illnesses, etc. And not all members can come at the last moment on a Saturday morning. So we were very fortunate this morning that we have a Toastmaster, Gordon Kelly, and we have a Word of the Day person who I'm not going to ask yet. We're going to give her a little chance to pick up a few more daffy references for the day and any grammatical errors that she might have heard. Our table topics were rather interesting because it dealt with Toastmasters in general. And normally when we're dealing with table topics, we deal with the everyday kind of things, because most of us are called on to talk either at work or at home, rather than in a situation where we need to know something a little more technical, such as what this is the Distinguished Club program for a Toastmasters club. So, our first evaluator today will be Rick Barron, who will evaluate Paul Wessels. So it's kind of a reverse, but it's good. Now, why are they evaluating? That's something else we need to talk about. They are evaluating to give each other hints on making that speech that they just gave even better. Both persons gave very good speeches now, but they're going to give suggestions on what can make it better. They're also going to talk about what they really liked. So, Rick Barron.
Thank you, Sheila. Talk about table topic, right? This is quite the table topic to have to come up and give an impromptu evaluation. But Paul, the objective of your speech was to entertain the audience, while at the same time to have some structure and organization to your topic. One of the first questions that it asked me in the evaluation manual was, how do I know that your speech was entertaining? And I could tell that your speech was entertaining because I was laughing, and there were others in the audience that were laughing or giggling during your speech. So to me, that is a clear indication that there were portions of your topic that were entertaining to people. And I think a lot of that had to do with the way that you set it up, because everybody's been in those kind of family situations. They really understand exactly what you're talking about. You know, the fact that you're dealing with parents and family members. Sounds like you have a very big family, and so many people can relate to that. And I think the way that you set it up with talking about the point, making the reference, doing the description, and then I won't call it the punchline, but kind of the punchline where people would go, haha, yeah, I understand exactly what you're talking about because it's something that I could relate to. And that structure, I think, worked very well by coming in, your introduction about what you were talking about, 3 little examples or episodes as you went through there, and each of them individually kind of had their own little story component to it, which I think worked very well within the structure of the speech. In terms of vivid descriptions, it asks about how well did you use vivid descriptions, anecdotes, or stories. I mean, essentially the whole thing was stories, so you did a very good job of working those into your speech. And in the conclusion was very good. It was very entertaining. And in terms of improvement, the thing I noticed during the speech was that occasionally you would look down to your notes. But because this was a story that you were so familiar with, my personal belief was that the notes were a distraction. And that essentially what you were doing is relating stories that you had done multiple times over in your head, and that the notes were a distraction. That you'd look down, and it was to find out about a story that you already knew. So that was, to me, kind of daffy, that you would think about using notes to tell stories that you were very familiar with. Ms. General Evaluator?
Excellent job. Excellent job. We're often called upon in meetings to comment on what someone else has presented. And here's an example of someone who was paying close attention, looked at all the aspects that were required, and came up with suggestions. Great job. And if you can do that, you are very valuable at work. Our next evaluator is Paul Wessels, who is going to evaluate Rick Barron's speech.
Thank you. Rick, boy, how can I follow up something like that? Boy, that was fantastic on the fly. This is kind of on the fly also. The point of the speech was get to the point. And it's basically The purpose was to be as clear as possible and to structure everything well. And you really did that well. Basically, the main theme, the general theme, was to eat better is what I got out of it, and how to do that. And you broke it out really well, meaning you talked about snacking, you talked about labeling, you talked about resistance training. They're kind of the three main points. And then you broke those down really well. So it was a very, very organized speech, and that was the goal of the speech, to be organized. Specifically, you talked about the snacking. You had good examples. You talked about men and women. 100 calories to 200 calories and 2 to 3 for men. So you broke that down specific. And then under labels, you talked about the carbs, and you described labels looking at fast carbs and slow carbs and that sort of thing, and how they actually went into your body. So you broke that down specifically, where things go and that sort of thing. Then resistance training, the building of the muscles. So it was all boom, boom, boom. He had a great ending, telling us to go to the fridge. What could I improve? You're so good. In doing this so quickly, I really can't think of anything that you could improve in it. It was really good. The fact that I guess one of the goals you had mentioned, you wanted to get rid of the, is it a podium or whatever it's called in front of you? You want to kind of walk around and have that piece of equipment away from you. So I thought you did really well in that aspect too. So in general, on the fly like this, I just thought it was a very good speech, very well structured. You broke it down. It was very entertaining, and it actually was informative. It taught us something. It was good for, it was not only entertaining, but it was informative. It told us, and we're all interested in our bodies and how to be more healthy and that sort of thing. So it was useful. It was a very useful, good speech. Thank you.
Another impressive evaluation. Great job by the evaluators, both evaluators, great job by both speakers. Now, it's time for Michelle to come up here and give us a grammarian and word of the day report.
Well, not a lot of grammatical errors today, but I actually broke it down by person. So, Gordon, I only heard you use a filler word twice throughout your entire time speaking, but you did not use the word of the day at all. Carol, I heard no grammatical errors as far as filler words, and you did use daffy once, so thank you for incorporating that. Dawn, I heard you use a filler word 8 times during your table topics, and our guest, he used 5 times during the table topics. So again, impromptu speaking, it's very good to keep those minimal, and you guys are doing a great job at it. Sheila, during your entire time, your evaluations and your table topics, I picked up 6 different filler words, and you used the word of the day, daffy, once, so thank you for doing that. Paul, during your table topics, I picked up 4 filler words. I didn't get any filler words throughout your speech, and the only grammatical things that kind of stuck out to me was you used the words really realized, which not a big deal, and I heard a one you know. So great job on that. And during your evaluation, since it was very impromptu, I picked up 13 filler words. Rick, you had 2 filler words during your table topics, and only 2 throughout your entire speech, no grammatical errors, and 11 during your evaluation. And Steve picked up no filler words during his table topic. So overall, great job, and I have to give the prize, the word of the day, to Rick. He used daffy twice. So thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Timer, would you please give a timing report?
Well, hello, everyone. Now, the word power, which was given by Michelle, it was 37 seconds. Big. Carol, you were a great table topic master. Now, Dawn, you were 1 minute and 33 seconds. Shushan, you were 1 minute and 13 seconds. Sheila, 1 minute and 28 seconds. Paul, 49 seconds. Rick, 57 seconds. Gordon, 1 minute and 39 seconds. And Steve, 1 minute and 30 seconds. Now, in the speakers, Paul, you are 5 minutes and 35 seconds. Rick, 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, Sheila, I didn't time you as general evaluator. I'm so sorry. But, Rick, your evaluation for Paul was 2 minutes and 54 seconds. Paul, for Rick, was 2 minutes and 19 seconds. And Michelle, your grammarian, was 1 minute and 45 seconds. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Now, for those who might be in the audience, that means that everybody was on time. And that's a very important thing, is to be able to stay within your time limit. I would like to now return the lectern or podium. I'm standing on the podium and the lectern is in front of me. The meeting as a whole. Well, before I return, the lectern to our Toastmaster, I'll talk about the meeting as a whole. Although we have about half the number of people we normally have for a meeting, we've done very well today. We've managed to cover all of the important parts of the meeting, and we hope made for a very entertaining show for everyone out there. I think in general, as usual, TV Toastmasters, it rules. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sheila. I really have one big thing to say, and that is, Michelle, have you ever heard the thing called "it's never over until it's over"? Well, I really feel daffy for not using the word daffy. Yeah, I had to do that one. We had some really great speeches today, I thought. And, you know, I really thought the evaluations of the speakers were more interesting than normal, because I'm saying, okay, Rick, if you really bang on him, he's going to get you back here in just a minute. I thought it was really good. I like that. I'd like to thank our TV audience today, our members for being here. We have a small crowd today, but it was really interesting. I always like to say, because I just think a lot of people, I know me personally, I'm very aware of it, but public speaking is very hard to do. And I struggle with that every day of my life. And I know that most people here have heard me talk about the fact that they've done studies, and most people fear public speaking more than they do death itself. And I understand that completely. I always like to say that because the TV audience needs to understand that. And if you want to get over those fears, or at least work with those fears, come in and join us. I'd like, again, to thank our members. We have a guest. I'd like to thank Sushant. If you have any comments, we definitely welcome your comments.
Well, I think it was really good.
Come on up.
I think it was really good, and it was a very good learning experience for me, and I think this will really help me in my career, and I'm looking forward to join the Toastmasters here. Of course, I have, as I told you, attended a Toastmasters event earlier, but this was, since it's on Saturdays, and I'm a student where we do have holidays on Saturdays and Sundays, so I would want to join you. Thank you.
It's very good. I believe at this time, I'd like to just say the sun is out. We all need to get out and play a little bit. Seems like winter really drug on. Living in Chicago as many years as I did, we're not even close up there to the end of winter time. But down here, it's like, hey man, the flowers, I see some flowers are coming out now along the road. We need to get out and enjoy a little bit of sunshine and enjoy the day. So at this time, I'd like to say that TV Toastmasters 9523 is hereby closed.
This is Rusty Ferdon with TV Toastmasters. We're a proud sponsor here on ACT TV and Anderson Community Television. We're the Miter Box. We're in Silverton. We've been doing picture framing for 32 years. We do conservation framing, we have conservation glass, and we have a large variety of frames. We're proud to be a sponsor of this ACT TV. And
business networking events have just got better. MAP, Market and Profit, unique luncheon and breakfast networking format, the business building team. Who do you want to get to know? Business owners, designers, investors, CEOs? Build your business at the next MAP networking event at 5 Seasons. No membership fees. MAP is proud to be a sponsor of TV Toastmasters.
Marcus Jewelers, serving Henderson Township as its only family-owned and operated full-service jeweler for over 21 years. We specialize in fine-quality gold, silver, platinum, jewelry, and gemstones. We can take something old and make it new again, including watches. We also buy gold and silver, including flatware. We also specialize in coins and bullion. We can appraise all of your jewelry so you know its true value. When it comes to matters of estate, we can determine what is real and what is costume. Lula's for lunch and more. Owner and chef Lori Pierce has over 25 years' experience. She has worked with world-renowned chefs and has developed recipes for Fortune 500 companies. Lori will work with you personally to create a unique menu. So whether a romantic dinner for two or a large corporate luncheon, remember, Lula's, where love is always the first ingredient. Dr. Jack Hendricks of Clearly Chiropractic. Dr. Hendricks is a graduate of Logan College of Chiropractic in St. Louis, Missouri. His number one goal is to educate patients on how their body works and to release the cause of pain, stress, and anxiety in their lives. Dr. Hendricks himself was helped by this unique, holistic approach when he was 19 and has been practicing in the heart of Henderson Township for 13 years.